is another webinar, which, is the first one of the year 2024. After the success of the previous webinar, we received a lot of attention for, Remesa partnership. First of all, I want to thank Dottoressa Casalone, Cristina, for her effort, her doings, and achievement with STOR during this period of collaboration. Today, the event we will follow concern aquaculture. As you know, Remesa is an institution which concerns surveillance and control of transboundary disease. And we must not forget that transboundary disease is not only, brucellosis or foot and mouth or morbivirus, but also infection due to waterborne pathogen at risk for fish and other aquatic species. The importance in terms of quality and quantity of aquaculture production can today be separated from the impact of this production to the pollution of marine and freshwater environment, pushing us as experts to find solution, pushing public authorities to answer to this current One Health issue. Before I pass the floor to chairperson, I would like to thank WOHA and FAO for their support. I would like to thank Italian Ministry of Health, particularly Dottoressa Bagni, for supporting and spreading this initiative. And my colleague of STOR, Hani, Helena, Daniela, for their effort, their motivation, their energy to, in the frame in which we will meet even today. Now, I give the floor to Dr. Sofiane, delegate from FAO, and to Dr. Rashid, WOA sub-regional representative for North Africa, for their welcome speech. But before, indeed, I have also the pleasure to introduce the two chairmen of today. Dr. Valentini from the Tunisian WOA and FAO Remesa Secretariat, and Dr. Nadia Sharif, Head of Fish and Shellfish Health Diagnostic Section at the National Institute of Sea Science and Technologies. Underline in this day today the importance and the demonstration that because we have three presentation DETOX for North African expert, so the importance of Africa as leader in this peculiar sector. One more thank to Istituto Zooprofilattico Venezia and its national reference lab for the support in this day. Therefore, now I pass the word to Dr. Rashid to Dr. Soufiane from FAO. Thank you very much and enjoy this webinar.
Thank you, dear Guido. Chers collègues et amis, bonjour et bienvenue dans ce nouveau webinaire organisé par le Bureau scientifique et technique du Remesa. Je suis ravi de vous voir aussi nombreux à ce deuxième événement organisé par le STOR sur l'aquaculture et le premier pour cette année. Donc, l'aquaculture qui est devenue... excusez-moi. Donc, l'aquaculture qui est devenue, comme vous le savez, un pilier essentiel dans notre approvisionnement en protéines animales et fournit aujourd'hui environ la moitié des produits alimentaires aquatiques. Donc, cependant, nous sommes conscients des défis majeurs auxquels l'aquaculture est confrontée, notamment les maladies piscicoles, la gestion des stocks et les préoccupations environnementales. Donc, l'objectif des différentes parties prenantes serait de parvenir ensemble à une intensification et une expansion durable de l'aquaculture sans négliger les questions de responsabilité sociale, de pollution et de risque sur la santé animale et humaine. Donc, ce webinaire offre une opportunité pour discuter des maladies prioritaires, euh, des poissons et le grand problème de résistance aux antimicrobiens qui ne peut être contrôlé que par la gestion de la biosécurité en aquaculture et en utilisant des vaccins appropriés. Nous parlerons également des avancées technologiques et des meilleures pratiques de gestion pour promouvoir une aquaculture responsable et respectueuse de l'environnement, tout en mettant la lumière sur le rôle très important des femmes dans ce secteur. Je vous encourage à tirer profit et partie de cette opportunité pour échanger vos idées, partager vos expériences et vos perspectives à vous avec nos éminents experts qu'on remercie pour leur disponibilité et engagement, bien sûr. Bienvenue encore une fois à toutes et à tous et je vous remercie pour votre participation et je passe la parole à mon ami Dr. Rachid Bouktour.
Merci beaucoup, Sofiane. Merci à tous. Je voudrais d'abord remercier le staff du store, le Remesa Team, et à leur tête Guido, pour l'organisation de ce webinaire extrêmement intéressant et important. Et je voudrais aussi m'associer à ce qu'a dit Guido pour rendre hommage à Christina Casalone, qui tout au long de l'année 2023 était présente avec nous et a lancé de nombreux webinaires. Je lui rends hommage aujourd'hui devant donc tout le staff et toute l'équipe qui est présente avec nous. L'aquaculture est un domaine qu'on a abordé en tant que représentation sous-régionale de WOA pour l'Afrique du Nord en 2023. Et c'était pour nous une première. Et pourquoi? Parce qu'aujourd'hui, l'aquaculture, comme l'a rappelé Sofiane, est en croissance constante et c'est une production qui ne peut que se développer dans notre zone de Méditerranée et de l'Afrique du Nord. Il est clair qu'aujourd'hui, si l'on regarde les pays qui la composent, ce développement est très hétérogène. Il y a des pays où l'aquaculture s'est installée depuis longtemps, qui s'est bien développée, et d'autres où elle est en développement. Et j'allais dire, je ne veux pas dire marginal, mais je dis que nous sommes dans beaucoup de régions, de beaucoup de pays en développement. Donc, sur l'aquaculture. Il est extrêmement important aujourd'hui que l'aquaculture puisse se développer dans des conditions, j'allais dire, qui respectent l'environnement, qui respectent, j'allais dire, l'utilisation des médicaments. Comme l'a rappelé aussi Sofiane, c'est toujours difficile de passer en deuxième position. Comme l'a rappelé aussi Sofiane, pour tout ce qui est utilisation des antibiotiques, c'est un problème aujourd'hui mondial, pas seulement en aquaculture, mais maintenant aujourd'hui, y compris en aquaculture. Donc, je crois que c'est extrêmement important d'écouter les différents experts qui ont accepté d'être avec nous, et je reste convaincu que nous allons apprendre des choses extrêmement intéressantes. Je suis content qu'il y ait beaucoup de monde avec nous aujourd'hui. J'ai vu que nous avons dépassé le seuil des 60 participants et je suis sûr que ça va encore grimper d'ici quelques instants. Donc, ça veut dire que l'aquaculture intéresse beaucoup de nos collègues dans la zone et je reste convaincu que nous devons encore développer d'autres initiatives sur l'aquaculture, sur la santé aquacole, dans la région méditerranéenne et nous sommes disposés à accompagner tous ceux qui sont intéressés en la matière. Voilà, je ne vais pas être plus long que ça. Merci beaucoup. Et je redonne la parole à Guido. Je vous souhaite à tous un excellent webinaire. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rashid, for your precious comments. Now we give space to the scientific activity. I give the floor to our chairman. Please, Francesco, proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Guido. Thank you to Sofiane and Rashid as well. I would like also to add my voice to Guido and Rashid, thanks to Christina. She has done a great work in the first year of the store. And without any further ado, so welcome everyone to this first webinar of store for 2024. Today we will speak about aquaculture, so modern systems, obstacles and challenges and improper management. I thank Sto and all the experts for having organized this very interesting webinar, and some useful information before starting with the first presentation. So the interpretation channels are available. We have both French and English simultaneous interpretation. So on the bottom of your Zoom page, you can find a globe logo with interpretation written below. You can select, please feel free to select the language that you prefer. And we have a slight change of our program today. So we will start with Dr. Azaza. Due to unforeseen commitments, he has to leave us. So we will start with him. We will have the answers and questions related to his presentation. And then we will move according to the program with Dr. Masoud, Dr. Manfrein, and then we will have a question and answer session and the break. And then we will, after the coffee break, we will move on with the other two presentations. So please feel free to write in the chat box all your questions. Nadia and I will make sure to address as many of your questions as possible. If we won't have time to address all of them during this webinar, we will make sure that we can follow up with you via email or etc. So now I would like to give the floor to our first expert, Dr. Mohamed Salah Zaza. He's the director of Aquaculture Laboratory in the National Institute of Marine Sciences and Technology in Tunisia. I can switch to French. Il est professeur titulaire et chef du laboratoire d'aquaculture à l'Institut national tunisien des sciences et technologies marines. Il est expert en gestion de l'aquaculture et développement durable. Il a participé aussi à plusieurs projets européens et il a co-dirigé de nombreuses missions d'expertise au niveau international. Et sa présentation aujourd'hui est sur l'intensification, expansion de la production et perspectives futures, donc les avantages, les défis, la gestion, la durabilité et les technologies avancées. Donc, Dr. Azaza.
Bonjour tout le monde. Merci aux organisateurs de cet événement. Je suis très ravi d'être avec vous pour essayer de partager avec vous ma présentation qui est intitulée Perspective et intensification et expansion de la production aquacole et perspectives futures, avantages, défis, gestion et durabilité et des technologies avancées. Donc, comme vous le savez, je viens pas revenir beaucoup sur la tendance mondiale de développement de l'aquaculture. Comme vous avez mentionné, l'aquaculture se développe à une vitesse très rapide. Il constitue aujourd'hui une source alimentaire devenue une clé de la sécurité alimentaire. Comme vous le voyez ici, la pêche est issue de l'extraction de la pêche et reste stagnante au cours de 3 dernières décennies, alors que c'est l'aquaculture qui augmente avec une vitesse soutenue et constitue aujourd'hui la principale source d'alimentation de protéines d'origine animale. D'ailleurs, au cours des 5 dernières années, les protéines d'origine issues des poissons sont les plus consommées à l'échelle mondiale. Également, cette activité présente un intérêt socio-économique très important. Elles fournissent, c'est-à-dire de création d'emplois et également, selon les tendances de l'évolution de ce secteur, à l'horizon de 2030, la production mondiale issue de l'aquaculture va représenter 2 tiers de la production mondiale des produits aquatiques. À l'échelle méditerranéenne, qui concerne le plus, la production issue de l'aquaculture est aux alentours de 3,3 millions de tonnes, y compris la production issue de la pisciculture marine que de la pisciculture continentale. Pour la production marine est à l'alentour de 860 000 tonnes, et représentée par à peu près 85% issus de la pisciculture et 14,5% issus de la conchyliculture. Les principales espèces produites, ce sont les loups et la dorade, à raison qui représentent ensemble à peu près 67% de la production méditerranéenne. Ensuite, il y a la moule, le maigre et le thon rouge. Également, l'aquaculture comme système de production est considéré le système de production qui présente le moins d'impact sur l'environnement en termes de changements globaux. À travers l'analyse du cycle de vie, comme vous voyez ici, l'aquaculture présente le moins d'impact comparé aux autres filières de production animale. Ceci dû à l'efficacité de la conversion de l'aliment pour les espèces aquacoles. Comme vous voyez ici, ils sont aux alentours de entre 1 et 2, alors pour les autres filières de production, ils dépassent largement cette valeur. Donc, cette tendance à l'augmentation de la production aquacole est due principalement à l'intensification généralisée des systèmes de production et à l'extension aussi de la production. Ceci est dû également à la demande des consommateurs pour les espèces de poissons du niveau trophique supérieur, tels que le crustacé et les poissons carnassiers de haute valeur nutritive et économique. Également, grâce au progrès technologique, comme vous le savez, la transition du système extensif vers le système intensif, ça nécessite de l'alimentation artificielle, les traitements de l'eau, des outils de contrôle et de suivi pour augmenter les performances de ce nouveau système de production. Également, cette expansion est due à l'introduction des espèces exotiques qui permet l'extension de la production aquacole de façon générale. Également, la domestication de nouvelles espèces auparavant sauvages qui seront introduits dans la production aquacole. Ici, on peut citer par exemple le pangasius, le tilapia et la crevette également. Et aussi la gouvernance et services écosystémiques. Chaque pays élabore sa propre stratégie pour gouverner et improver et améliorer son système de contrôle, son système d'incitation, son système d'encouragement et d'incitation au secteur aquacole.
Excusez-moi,
la question pertinente que se pose, cette augmentation de l'aquaculture, jusqu'à quelle limite va s'atteindre aujourd'hui? Donc la nécessité d'intensifier les efforts pour exploiter les possibilités offertes pour continuer à augmenter et à expanser la production aquacole mondiale pour répondre aux besoins d'une population qui est en perpétuelle croissance. Mais la question principale, quels sont les défis, quelles sont les contraintes qui vont freiner ou réduire cette vitesse. Tout d'abord, on pense à l'alimentation. L'alimentation, l'intensification des systèmes d'élevage nécessite bien évidemment le recours à des aliments artificiels, à des ingrédients qui doivent être durables aussi. L'expansion également nécessite de l'environnement, des ressources naturelles, des terres et également les défis du changement climatique qui parfois va avantager certains sites, d'autres va affecter ces systèmes de production.
Dr. Azaza, est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Général, c'est
Dr. Azaza,
la durabilité du secteur qui est considéré un secteur crucial à travers le renforcement et le développement d'une aquaculture durable qui se base sur trois principaux piliers. Tout d'abord, il faut rentabiliser la production aquacole du point de vue économique, assurer un bilan environnemental raisonnable, c'est-à-dire réduire l'impact sur l'environnement, également l'attractivité sociale, c'est-à-dire l'acceptabilité sociale de cette activité aquacole afin de contribuer à mettre en place une aquaculture durable, résiliente et génératrice de valeur ajoutée. Donc, l'intensification et l'expansion de la production aquacole, aujourd'hui, à l'horizon de 2030 et 2050, la production alimentaire aquatique devrait augmenter et cette croissance proviendra principalement de l'aquaculture parce que la pêche va être stagnée. Et l'impact positif de ce secteur sur le plan socio-économique devrait s'accroître également. Ceci nécessite d'améliorer la productivité et améliorer les performances des systèmes de production à travers la modernisation, c'est-à-dire l'intégration de nouvelles technologies, l'intensification et l'accès au large aux produits aquacoles, c'est-à-dire les aspects relatifs à la commercialisation. Cette croissance ne devrait pas, bien évidemment, être au détriment de l'environnement. Il faut conserver la santé de l'écosystème, tout ce qui est source de pollution, conserver la biodiversité, le bien-être d'un animal et l'égalité sociale. Ceci nécessite d'adopter de nouvelles stratégies durables et équitables pour le développement de l'aquaculture. Donc, pour renforcer la durabilité de l'aquaculture et expanser cette filière pour répondre aux besoins croissants de la population, il y a certaines priorités qui se résument tout d'abord de renforcer le développement et l'adoption des technologies innovantes et des systèmes durables. Tout d'abord, à travers l'utilisation des technologies numériques et des systèmes d'intelligence artificielle, c'est-à-dire on va aller vers l'innovation technologique pour augmenter l'efficience de ces systèmes de production, la biosécurité et la lutte contre les maladies. Aujourd'hui, l'intensification va augmenter les risques de stress, réduire le bien-être et affecte la santé des animaux. Il faut adopter des approches de biosécurité. Également réduire l'impact sur l'environnement en utilisant des systèmes d'élevage tels que les systèmes de recirculation, les systèmes multitrophiques intégrés, qui sont d'adopter l'économie de l'eau, l'amélioration de l'empreinte carbone. Également, il faut recours à des aliments qui issus
Dr. Azaza, est-ce que vous pouvez m'entendre?
Non conventionnels, bien évidemment, surtout la farine de poisson et l'huile de poisson aujourd'hui constituent un problème majeur pour l'expansion de l'aquaculture. Également des additifs innovants pour améliorer les performances de ces aliments. La gestion aussi de l'alimentation.
Prof. Azaza,
Oui. Dr. Azaza.
Il y a un problème de traduction en anglais. Vous pouvez nous entendre?
Yes, for the English interpreters, we had an issue because the participants could hear at the same time the speaker and the interpretation. So could you please fix this issue? Okay. No problem. Dr. Azaza, est-ce que vous pouvez m'entendre? Vous êtes
Votre micro, Mohamed.
Oui, votre micro. Voilà. Et essayez-vous, s'il vous plaît, de parler, comme ça on peut vérifier que le problème est, qu'on a réglé le problème des traductions.
D'accord. Vous m'écoutez?
Et
Donc, nous, on vous
D'accord.
entend très bien, mais un problème de
D'accord. Thank you.
de la traduction.
je pense que le problème, I think that the problem is not yet fixed because
Okay.
but I'm in the English channel and I can hear Dr. Azaza when he speaks. Dr. Azaza is. Okay. Okay. Dr. Azaza. D'accord.
Oui.
Donc, si vous pouvez, est-ce que vous avez choisi un canal pour l'interprétation?
C'est possible, oui. Oui, d'accord.
Alors, est-ce que vous pouvez choisir Original Audio, s'il vous plaît?
Je dois sortir et revenir. Hein.
D'accord. Et je ne...
D'accord.
Non, mais c'est en bas de la page, Mohamed.
Oui, en bas où il y a les différents canaux d'interprétation, il y a anglais, français, etc. Si vous pouvez choisir...
Ça va maintenant? Ça va maintenant?
Oui, on vous entend, mais on vous entend parler en français. Moi, je suis dans le canal anglais et je ne reçois pas de traduction.
Et maintenant?
Très bien. Est-ce que vous pouvez parler, Mohamed?
D'accord. Ça va maintenant?
I can hear the English interpretation. We have to check whether we can hear both of you together. Dr.
Bien.
Azaza,
Oui.
est-ce que vous pouvez dire quelque chose comme ça? On va essayer de régler le problème.
Ça va maintenant? Je peux continuer? Vous m'écoutez?
Oui, ça va. Oui, ça va.
D'accord.
Yeah, it's better. It's better.
D'accord.
OK. OK. Très bien. Très
D'accord,
bien.
pas de
Merci.
souci.
Merci, désolé pour...
Mohamed, je pense que vous pouvez poursuivre.
D'accord.
Oui. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, merci à vous. Donc, je reviens pour, voilà, je suis arrêté à la formulation d'aliments, c'est-à-dire pour renforcer et réussir cette expansion et le développement de l'aquaculture. Il faut recours à des aliments basés sur des ingrédients durables, qui sont des ingrédients bien évidemment non conventionnels suite à la pression importante à la farine de poisson et particulièrement l'huile de poisson. Également, l'utilisation des additifs innovants permet d'améliorer les performances et l'efficacité de ces aliments. Également, la gestion de l'alimentation constitue aussi un point très important. L'amélioration des génétiques pourrait améliorer les performances et l'efficacité de la croissance, de la conversion alimentaire vers de meilleures performances économiques, vers une réduction de l'impact environnemental. Également, l'efficience de la chaîne de valeur, tout ce qui est l'utilisation et la valorisation des sous-produits et des déchets en adoptant les principes de l'économie circulaire. Également, l'optimiser la gouvernance du secteur. Il faut que le secteur soit incitateur, facilitateur et proactif pour développer et inciter l'investissement. Comme vous le savez, l'expansion de l'aquaculture, ça nécessite des investissements et principalement des investissements privés. Donc, la gouvernance, elle doit adopter une stratégie pour inciter ces investissements à travers la mise en place des approches ASA avec l'élaboration des zones spécifiques à l'aquaculture, permettrait de réduire les conflits entre les usagers de l'espace, d'accroître donc l'efficience et l'amélioration de la performance environnementale à travers le bon choix des sites qui présentent un impact réduit sur l'environnement. Également, la rationalisation des procédures de délivrance des licences, tout ce qui est la transparence et la clarté des procédures à suivre. La dimension socio-économique de l'aquaculture aussi est un point très important, à travers la mise en place des dispositifs de protection sociale, de l'assurance, ce qui permettrait de renforcement de la résilience des aquaculteurs. Également l'accès facile aux services financiers, notamment aux prêts bancaires. Aujourd'hui, les institutions de financement voient que l'aquaculture est une activité de risque. La gouvernance intervient pour inciter et faciliter l'accès à ces fonds. Également, le renforcement de la capacité et la formation, surtout à travers les technologies et les pratiques de gestion innovantes qui vont permettre de rendre le secteur aquacole plus efficient et plus résilient, à travers le renforcement de la capacité humaine et institutionnelle tels que les vulgarisateurs et les formateurs, transfert effectif à travers la vulgarisation des informations techniques aux aquaculteurs pour répondre à leurs besoins, renforcer les institutions et les services de vulgarisation pour particulièrement l'utilisation de nouvelles technologies, développer des programmes nationaux et internationaux de recherche pluridisciplinaires pour améliorer la compétitivité du secteur, l'efficacité de la production, les performances économiques, la durabilité environnementale, la santé et le développement des technologies. Également à l'échelle régionale, pourquoi pas la mise en place des centres de démonstration pour partager les bonnes pratiques pour ce secteur aquacole. Un autre point, en ce qui concerne la pisciculture, plutôt la conchiliculture, qui représente à l'échelle méditerranéenne 10% de la production méditerranéenne. À part son rôle important comme source nutritive de haute valeur nutritive, elle joue un rôle important aussi au niveau des avantages écosystémiques, étant donné que ce sont des organismes filtreurs, ça ne nécessite pas des aliments externes. Donc, ils participent à la service écosystémique à travers le pêchage de carbone, la remédiation des nutriments et la protection des côtes. Mais dans ce contexte et dans cette filière, il y a certaines particularités qui sont relatives à l'obligation de surveillance des eaux des sites d'élevage et surtout de respecter les normes de sécurité sanitaire des produits. Également, les exigences en matière de biosécurité sont souvent très strictes, et en particulier lorsqu'on vise des marchés d'exportation. Les projections futures et relatives à l'aquaculture, à l'échelle mondiale, la production de consommation va continuer, la production et la consommation va encore augmenter au cours de les prochaines années. Malgré une décélération, la croissance mondiale de la production aquacole devrait permettre de combler la majeure partie de l'écart entre l'offre et la demande. En ce qui concerne l'aquaculture, une croissance de la production aquacole qui ralentit et une pression sur le coût de quelques intrants critiques vont peut-être augmenter le coût de production au cours des prochaines années, particulièrement les aliments et l'énergie. À l'horizon de 2050, les modèles de la FAO ont élaboré 3 scénarios qui peuvent accompagner ou avoir une idée sur les tendances de la production aquacole. Tout d'abord, un scénario ambitieux. Ce scénario se base sur un renforcement de la durabilité des activités aquacoles qui permettrait d'aller davantage vers l'intensification, mais cette intensification soit durable, et ainsi on va arriver à un taux de croissance qui sont modestes, mais significatifs en matière de production en masse. Le scénario statistico, c'est-à-dire les mêmes approches et des contraintes qui sont en relation avec l'aliment et l'espace qui vont entraîner une légère augmentation de la activité de la production aquacole, mais un taux d'accroissement inférieur. Et les scénarios dégradés, si des approches qui ne sont pas durables ont été mises en place, ils vont affecter négativement la production aquacole. En ce qui concerne les technologies innovantes en aquaculture, ces technologies se basent sur l'utilisation des systèmes d'élevage, les outils d'élevage, les paramètres de suivi environnementaux. En ce qui concerne les systèmes d'élevage, il y a le système RAS, c'est l'utilisation des systèmes recirculés, qui est une technologie à travers laquelle l'eau est recirculée et utilisée pour la filtration mécanique et biologique. Ça permet de réduire la consommation de l'eau, d'ajuster les conditions environnementales spécifiques à l'espèce et étendre le cycle d'élevage. Ce sont des systèmes qui sont productifs, ils sont largement utilisés de plus en plus, vu particulièrement dans le contexte de changement climatique. Également, une variante de ce système est ce qu'on appelle le biofloc. Ce sont des technologies assez récentes qui est basée sur la production des micro-organismes dans le système d'élevage. Le principe de la technique, c'est de maintenir un rapport entre le carbone et l'azote qui permettrait d'améliorer beaucoup la qualité de l'eau et la production de protéines d'origine microbienne unicellulaire qui participent à l'alimentation endogène des organismes élevés. Également, un système innovant, ce qu'on appelle Inbound RS System, ce sont des systèmes intensifs à grande échelle qui permettent d'améliorer les performances d'élevage, améliorer le rendement comparé au système des étangs classiques et réduire aussi la charge de déchets solides dans l'étang. Également, les systèmes d'aquaponie, c'est un système de production qui regroupe l'aquaculture et l'agriculture. C'est un système efficace en termes d'utilisation de l'eau et la réduction des déchets issus de ces systèmes d'élevage. Également, des systèmes intégrés, ce sont des innovations en termes de gestion des systèmes d'élevage entre l'agriculture et la pisciculture, qui concernent particulièrement dans les régions désertiques, telles que où il y a l'élevage du tilapia, le poisson-chat, les spirulines, avec la valorisation de l'énergie solaire et pour la production aquacole. Également, il y a les systèmes innovants, tels que les systèmes d'aquaculture multitrophique, qui consistent à l'association des piscicultures marines monospécifiques avec des conchilicultures. Ce sont des organismes filtreurs qui concernent les mollusques bivalves. Également, ces organismes jouent le rôle de filtreurs comme de biofiltres pour réduire l'impact de cette activité sur l'environnement. Également, l'association des macroalgues permettrait d'absorber les matières inorganiques dissoutes qui constitue encore une filtration, une amélioration de la qualité et le système et la santé de l'environnement. Ces espèces présentent bien évidemment un intérêt économique parce que les coquillages se produisent dans un système sans recours à des intrants exogènes. Donc, c'est ce qu'on appelle l'intensification écologique qui permettrait d'augmenter la rentabilité économique de l'exploitation aquacole tout en réduisant et minimisant l'impact de l'aquaculture sur l'environnement, surtout que ce système classique monospécifique présente l'aliment et les déchets issus des poissons présentent le principal impact sur l'environnement. Également, en Tunisie, on pilote un projet d'aquaculture multitrophique pour le renforcement de la durabilité de cette activité aquacole. Le projet, c'est en cours. Ce sont des illustrations de ce système d'élevage. Également, en ce qui concerne le renforcement de la durabilité de l'utilisation de l'aliment comme substitution à la farine de poisson, aujourd'hui, la croissance rapide de l'aquaculture et son intensification ont entraîné une utilisation accrue d'aliments pour l'aquaculture. Parmi les ingrédients, ce sont la farine de poisson, l'huile de poisson qui deviennent de plus en plus rares et de plus en plus coûteux. Donc, l'idée, c'est de trouver des alternatives à ces ingrédients qui sont durables. Particulièrement les protéines d'origine végétale ont prouvé leur performance avec certains problèmes parce qu'il faut que ces ingrédients doivent avoir une digestibilité et renforcent la qualité aussi du produit. Également, la possibilité de valoriser les micro et les macro-algues comme des additifs ou comme des incorporés, comme des additifs dans l'alimentation et en remplacement à une partie de la farine de poisson. Également, les protéines d'origine issues d'insectes constitue une option pour le remplacement de la farine de poisson avec du succès. Et les protéines d'origine unicellulaire aussi peuvent contribuer à réduire la portion de la farine de poisson dans l'alimentation aquacole. Ici, de façon générale, comme vous voyez, au fil des années, au cours de dernières décennies, il y a une tendance vers la diminution de la farine de poisson, c'est-à-dire de protéines d'origine animale, qui est en couleur bleue. Par contre, il y a une augmentation progressive au fil des années de la portion ici de protéines d'origine végétale pour s'adapter à ce nouveau contexte et renforcer davantage l'aquaculture vers une expansion de la production. Également, l'utilisation des macroalgues et microalgues constitue aussi une source alternative intéressante qui a été largement approuvée. Ici, la farine d'insectes constitue une solution intéressante. Ici, certains résultats des différentes performances de l'utilisation de la farine d'insectes dans l'alimentation des principales espèces d'intérêt aquacole, avec des succès plus ou moins importants. Également, la valorisation des déchets et l'incorporation des déchets dans l'alimentation aquacole comme source de protéines animales, toujours une voie intéressante dans le principe de l'économie circulaire pour disposer de la matière première de haute valeur nutritive. Également, l'utilisation des additifs alimentaires à des fins tels que les composés phytogéniques, les liants mycotoxines, les acides organiques, les stimulants, les immunostimulants, pour améliorer les performances des aliments, améliorer la conversion alimentaire, la santé et le bien-être de l'animal. Tous ces aspects contribuent à augmenter les performances de la production et renforcer la durabilité de l'aquaculture. Également, l'utilisation des technologies smart, les utilisations des technologies intelligentes comprennent principalement la surveillance de la qualité de l'eau, le contrôle de l'alimentation et l'estimation des aptitudes des poissons, l'estimation de la biomasse à travers les tailles de poissons et la gestion des maladies et de la santé des organismes aquatiques. Par exemple, pour le suivi de la qualité de l'eau, l'utilisation des senseurs, avoir une idée sur la qualité de l'eau permet d'avoir une idée sur les performances des élevages et la qualité de l'élevage et permet également de choisir la bonne option en relation avec une meilleure performance économique et environnementale des systèmes d'élevage. Également l'utilisation des systèmes d'intégrés pour la surveillance et le contrôle à distance. La structure embuée en acier inoxydable permet et connecté à des sensors et alimenté par des cellules photovoltaïques permet d'avoir et transmettre des messages à distance en utilisant l'Internet des objets pour prendre des mesures instantanées et avoir une idée sur la qualité de l'eau qui, à la lumière de ça, on peut ajuster notre protocole d'élevage et d'alimentation. Les caméras sous-marines également, à travers ces caméras, on peut suivre le comportement alimentaire de la consommation de l'aliment et identifier la quantité d'aliments non consommés, avoir une idée sur s'il y a des signes de maladie, le comportement de nage des poissons, l'état de filet, est-ce que le biofouling, parfois les filets sont déchirés, s'il y a des mortalités. Et cet outil permet d'être intégré à des réseaux d'intelligence artificielle qui permettraient par la suite de mieux gérer les performances des élevages. Également, l'utilisation des drones qui peuvent avoir des informations très importantes sur les dommages causés par les filets, les santé de poissons, le comportement. De nombreux drones peuvent également mesurer les conditions environnementales de l'eau d'élevage, telles que la température, oxygène, pH et turbidité. Il peut nous envoyer à distance toutes ces mesures. Également des capteurs et des caméras pour estimer la biomasse des poissons. Comme vous le savez, l'alimentation et la ration journalière dépendent de la biomasse instantanée. Avoir une idée de la quantité de poissons à l'instant T permettait d'ajuster l'alimentation et réduire donc les pertes d'alimentation. Comme vous le savez, aujourd'hui, le post-alimentation représente une part importante du coût de protection. Donc, il y aura un gain très important si on arrive à mieux gérer cet aspect. Ici, on peut avoir aussi des diffusions de vidéos en direct pour avoir l'histogramme, la répartition des tailles de poissons, la surveillance de l'alimentation et la surveillance des cages à distance à partir du bureau. Il y a aussi des technologies qui sont assez avancées qui permettraient d'envoyer même des signaux à distance pour déclencher, par exemple, ouvrir l'alimentation en oxygène ou l'alimentation dans les bassins ou l'alimentation des poissons en cage. Également l'utilisation de nourrisseurs automatiques. Ce sont des technologies intéressantes et innovantes, permettent de mieux ajuster, de réduire le coût de la main-d'œuvre. Il y a différents types de nourrisseurs automatiques qui permettraient une diffusion assez large et efficace à toutes les espèces aquacoles et à tous les stades d'élevage. Également de nourrisseurs automatiques de grande dimension qui peuvent contenir jusqu'à 30 à 50 tonnes avec manipulation in situ et d'une distribution et l'alimentation à toutes les cages instantanément dans le même instant permettrait de gagner le temps et d'améliorer au niveau des performances économiques et aussi environnementales. Également
I think we have a connection issue.
Ce système remplace le système traditionnel conventionnel qui est basé sur l'alimentation animale, l'alimentation manuelle, qui constitue toujours une perte importante des aliments et aussi une pollution de si on a une ferme qui produit 1000 tonnes de poissons et le taux de conversion de 2,3, si on adopte des systèmes qui sont innovants, on peut réduire et rester toujours, si on reste toujours pessimiste, on se limite à une amélioration de 0,3. Donc, c'est au lieu d'utiliser 2300 tonnes, on utilise seulement 2000 tonnes avec bien évidemment les mêmes performances de croissance. Il y a un gain économique de 300 tonnes d'aliments qui est équivalent de 1500 millions qui constitue un gain économique important au niveau de la ferme aquacole, sans oublier l'impact de ces 300 tonnes d'aliments qui ont été rejetés dans la mer en termes de sources de pollution. Également, les techniques de récolte, tout ce qui est abattage, d'abattage.
Docteur Azaza, je vous demande pardon, et le temps à disposition est grosso modo écoulé. Est-ce que vous voulez aller aux conclusions?
Oui.
Merci.
Tout de suite, oui. Il y a de nouvelles technologies pour l'abattage qui consistent à conserver le bien-être des poissons. Ce sont des technologies également de suivre in situ. De la technologie des cages alternatives qui permettent de meilleures performances et une adaptation au changement climatique. Ce sont les technologies des cages submersibles pour éviter les conditions, mauvaises conditions extrêmes, notamment environnementales. L'utilisation des filets pour réduire l'ancrage des filets. Ce sont des filets innovants pour réduire l'anti-fouling. Voilà, nettoyage des filets. Les inspections automatiques à travers des smart technologies pour identifier l'état des filets. L'utilisation d'intelligence artificielle pour suivre la qualité de l'eau, l'estimation de la biomasse, les maladies, l'alimentation, le comportement des poissons. L'utilisation des Internet des objets pour communiquer entre les devices, entre les équipements et donner des signaux pour appliquer une information qui sera traitée. Donc, l'utilisation aussi de biocapteurs pour avoir l'état physiologique de poisson et le comportement des poissons. L'utilisation aussi de ces technologies pour le suivi de la santé et la pathologie des organismes aquatiques à travers l'intelligence artificielle. La technologie des vaccins aussi. L'outil génétique aussi constitue un outil très performant pour améliorer les performances économiques et réduire la mortalité et améliorer la croissance des poissons. L'importance de choix des sites également comme une approche pour élaborer toutes ces technologies présentent des bénéfices économiques et des bénéfices environnementaux. Les défis de la durabilité. En conclusion, toujours il faut adopter des approches qui permettent de favoriser l'aquaculture durable, favoriser l'intégration et la circularité de la production aquacole, limiter la pollution, la valorisation des déchets, d'intégrer la dimension sociale dans le contexte de développement, développer des connaissances et des capacités pour l'amélioration de la santé de l'écosystème et la protection des services écosystémiques, l'innovation, l'utilisation des smart technologies vers l'éco-innovation et l'éco-intensification. La prise de décision politique et la recherche devraient orienter vers des activités vers une économie durable et circulaire. Producteurs aquacoles qui souhaitent obtenir un plus grand contrôle pour les opérations d'élevage. Ces nouvelles technologies permettent de surveiller un grand nombre de variables qui affectent les performances des élevages. De nombreuses opérations peuvent être automatisées et l'intelligence artificielle est de plus en plus capable de prendre des décisions en matière de gestion aquacole. Les exigences en matière de main-d'œuvre peuvent également être réduites et la sécurité est considérablement améliorée à travers des interventions qui constituent un impact sur la santé des aquaculteurs. Beaucoup de solutions nécessitent un investissement initial, mais elles ont le potentiel de faire économiser de l'argent aux producteurs et d'améliorer la durabilité environnementale et de la production aquacole. Et je vous remercie de votre attention.
Merci beaucoup, Dr. Azad. Et merci beaucoup pour votre présentation très intéressante et très complète. Et I don't see any question in the chat, so I remind to our participants that Dr. Azaza will unfortunately must leave us now, so please, if you have any question, write it down in the chat box so that we can address it immediately. Otherwise, please feel free to send an email to store or to us addressing your doubts. Okay. So I think that we have no questions. So thank you again, Dr. Azaza, for your very interesting presentation.
Merci.
And
merci à vous.
Donc, we can move to the second presentation. We have now Dr. Mohamed Massouz Wael Abdelawab. He is a veterinarian. He's the aquatic animal focal point for Egypt, for WA. And he's an official veterinarian working in the General Organization for the Veterinary Services in Egypt. And he's the head of the Fish Inspection Unit of the Quarantine Department. He will give a presentation on the aquaculture challenges, so administration, legislation, production, trade, and marketing. Dr. Massoud, the floor is yours.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Francisco. Thank you.
So you can share this. You can share the screen.
Where is it?
So in
The screen from you.
Okay, so
You can
store colleagues, do you have Dr. Massoud presentation? We do?
No. Not yet.
Just a minute, we check. Yeah. So, okay. So we'll send. We'll share the screen.
Okay. So Dr. Masoud, we will share the screen for you. Just 1 second. And
I'm waiting. Thank you.
so meanwhile, when we fix this issue, I can inform you all that, as Dr. Bugdur was saying, aquatic animal health is one of the priorities of WOA, and in general it's a priority for the North African sub-region. So we are working okay, so the PPT is ready. I will I will speak about it later. So Dr. Masoud, the floor is yours. We can, exactly. Presentation mode, please go ahead.
Thank you. With you, Dr. Wael Masoud from General Organization for Veterinary Service from Egypt, Aquatic Animal Focal Point at WOW. WOH. Second, please. Arab Republic of Egypt, جمهورية مصر العربية in Arabic, and the Arab Republic of Egypt in English. Second, please, second. This is Egypt map. We are surrounded with Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea from the north and from the east. Mediterranean Sea, we have many ports and fishing vessels around the sea. Second, we are surrounded with Gaza Strip from the northeast and the Red Sea from the east, Sudan from the south, and Libya from the west. The Gulf of Aqaba in the northeast separate Egypt from Jordan and Saudi Arabia. Cairo is the capital of the largest city of Egypt, while Alexandria is the second largest city. It's an important industrial and tourist hub for the Mediterranean coast. Egypt population were 106 million inhabitants. Egypt is the 14th most populated country in the world. Second, Egypt ranking in the world aquaculture production. Globally, it is the 11th country in the inland fish production. First African country in aquaculture production, 6th country in the fin fish production, and the 9th country in the crustacean production.
Okay, can we move to the next slide? Okay. Dr. Masoud? I think that Dr. Masoud lost his connection. Okay, so meanwhile, while Dr. Masoud is reconnecting, I was saying that aquatic animal health is a priority in the North African sub-region. So we are working, we're trying to work to implement projects and activities, capacity building activities mainly to that end. So in this year, for example, we will have the aquatic animal focal point trainings. We will host the event in Tunis, Tunisia. Some of the experts will attend, and of course all the WA focal points will be invited. And we will, the invitation letters will be sent soon. But we will also have, as some of our speakers, as Rashid and Sofiane reminded in their opening remarks, AMR and okay, Dr. Masoud, are you back?
I'm back. Sorry, I apologize for this connection.
No problem. No problem. So, store colleagues, can we share the screen again for the presentation? Okay, perfect. So we were at the EG production, so 9th in the crustacean production, I think. That was the last sentence. So if we can go back to that slide. Okay, perfect. Please, Dr. Wassoud.
Please. Please.
Okay, yeah, they're going back. No, it's the opposite direction. Okay, here.
Sorry, we have some issue with the presentation mode, so I will leave the slide like this.
Okay, okay, Dr. Masoud.
You hear me?
Yes.
Can
you see the screen?
Okay. I see fish and the relationship to and okay. The Earth's surface is covered by 70% water. Only 30% are 3% are fresh water. Okay.
Dr. Masoud, can you see the screen? Can you see the PowerPoint presentation?
I see it. I see it.
Because we have issues understanding what you're saying. I think that your connection is not stable enough. No, I barely can hear you.
Please be in contact with me.
Yeah, so I think that I have a proposal for the store colleagues. Dr. Masoud, please try to fix your issue, try to find a better connection. Maybe we can move on with the next presentation, and meanwhile we can try to fix the issue, the connection issues of Dr. Masoud. Okay, Guido, is it good enough for you? Okay, so I'm sorry for the inconvenience to all the participants. Dr. Masoud, please find a better connection. We will move on with the other presentation. Yes, can you hear me? We will move on with the other presentation and then we will be back to you. So please find a better internet connection so that we can conclude your presentation, okay? So now we can move on to Dr. Amedeo Manfrin. He's the Italian, he works in the Italian National Reference Laboratory for Fish, Mollusks and Crustacean Diseases in ISEDES Padova. He is member
Hello, Mr. Francesco. You hear me?
Yes, Dr. Masoud, I hear you. Please, we will move on with the next presentation. Please find a better internet connection and then we will be back to you, okay? In the meantime, we can chat on the side and try to fix your issues, okay? I will move to the next presentation. So Dr. Manfrin, he's member of the European Medicine Agency Working Group on Veterinary Treatment in Aquaculture. He's member of the EU Platform on Animal Welfare, an initiative group on fish publishing guidelines on water quality and handling for the welfare of farm vertebrate fish. He has been tutor of several BTSF courses, and he is the leader of the working packet number 2 of the WOA Aqua Strength project. So without any further ado, I will give him the floor, and his presentation is about priority diseases and drug resistance in aquaculture in the Mediterranean. Thank you, Dr. Manfrin.
Thank you. Bonjour à tout le monde. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for inviting me in this very interesting meeting. I tried to share the screen and cross my fingers. Okay, can you see? I think so.
Yes.
Thank you.
In the presentation mode.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
And good morning again. We are going to speak about drug resistance and therapy in Mediterranean species. Again, as you know, aquaculture is quite increasing in the last years, and in 2014 surpassed fishery. So you can see again, more or less fishery is stable in the last 30 years, the orange line, and aquaculture was increasing and is still increasing all over the world. Again, a very nice picture from FAO database. The main species are again and still freshwater species, mainly inland finfish, inland aquaculture species, and above all they are cyprinids. You can see the blue bar, and it's very interesting also the big production of algae in the world. Marine species are quite interesting species, but not so high production in the world. This is from the European Federation of Aquaculture Producer, but including also non-EU countries like Turkey, for example. And you can see that sea bass and bream are the most important species in European Mediterranean countries. Turkey and Greece are the leader, and Spain, Italy, Croatia, France, and Cyprus are also producers. But you can see also that sea bream is a very interesting production for Turkey and Greece mainly, but also for Spain and France and Italy. So the leader again are Turkey and Greece with more than 100,000 tons per year. So a very interesting production. In Mediterranean, we are also leader again with Spain, France, Greece, and Turkey on hatchery production. We are speaking about, you can see, thousands of juvenile. We sell juvenile also to Tunisia, Morocco, and other northern Africa countries. And different kind of production and management. You can see the old, on the left of the top of the picture, old kind of production in Italy, in Mediterranean, the valley, the lagoon, but also on the right.
أولاد بدأ أتكلم ألاقي نفسي اتقفلت والنبي يا أحمد أنت أذيتني.
Sorry. intensive fish farm, but nowadays they are mainly net pens in Mediterranean, so very intensive, like the Norwegian salmon production, so new technology. And again, we have also new Mediterranean production in Northern Africa, and you can see Egypt, mainly, as we saw before, mainly freshwater species, but also sea bass, sea bream, and meager. Tunisia is rapidly increasing, more or less 25,000 tons in 2023, sea bass and sea bream. Morocco is also increasing, and we have no data about Algeria, but I know that they are also working on a Mediterranean species. So the topic of our presentation, my presentation, is what's about diseases. Just only a few information, because you know that they experienced many different diseases, but just to remember that viral encephalon retinopathy, Anatofan is the OIE reference lab. On beta-nodavirus is still a big issue. Is the most important viral disease for marine species. Many marine species are affected. No therapy is available, and vaccination, yes, is possible, but expensive and time-consuming. There are 2 commercial vaccines, but only by intraperitoneum injection, 0.05 milliliters per fish. So you can understand why is time-consuming and also expensive. And let me say that the main problems are parasitic and bacterial diseases. Just an overview of the most important parasite, like Odynium, mainly in the hatchery, but also the Practanum or Sparicotyle, and Myxilium lay is quite important for sea bream, for example, and bacterial diseases. Bacterial diseases, the most important diseases are vibriosis, mainly Vibrio anguillarum and Vibrio harvey, but also photobacteriosis, Photobacterium piscicida, which can affect also, you can see mullet, so wild brackish water species. I know that in Egypt they also farm mullet, so it's important disease to keep in mind. There is also Tenacibaculosis, Tenacibaculum maritimum, affecting all the species, but mainly flat species like sole and turbot, and Aeromonas. Aeromonas veroni is another big issue for Mediterranean producer fish farmers. Again, this is a new article. Keep in mind again that bacterial pathogens are still important and can cause, you see, more than 30% of losses. So $billions are lost every year in all the species. Obviously, you can see sea bass, bream, rainbow trout, for example. But again, bacterial pathogens are one of the most important issue for fish farmers. And in the last years, we checked the results of therapy, because therapy is not so easy. We have the lack of medicine. You can see on the right, on the top of the right, that very few authorized products are available for minor species like fish and bees, for example, to be compared with pigs or cow or cats or dogs. So this is one of the first issue. One good news for the moment is that in Mediterranean pathogens like Photobacterium damsele piscicida strain and also Vibrio anguillarum, we have very few problem about antimicrobial resistance. We tested many different 30 Vibrio, and you can see the green bar, so the susceptibility to antimicrobials is predominant, is most important. The only exception is for Vibrio anguillarum with amoxicillin, but amoxicillin is naturally resistant to amoxicillin, so it's not a problem again. We also tested new pathogens, for example, Vibrio harvey, more than 130 strains with the MIC, which is a very sophisticated techniques, laboratory techniques, just to test the minimal inhibitory concentration of an antimicrobial against specific pathogens at a different concentration, different dilution. And you can see that some antibiotics like fluorphenicol, oxytetracycline, doxycycline, and sulfonamides are still good antibiotics, the best antibiotics, because we need very, very few concentration. This is the meaning of MIC, minimal inhibitory concentration. We need only a few concentration, very low concentration, to stop the growth of this bacteria, at least in the lab, but our results were confirmed by our colleague working in the field, mainly for the feed company. So again, just an example that in Europe, this data comes from the European Medicine Agency. You can see that in different countries in Europe, Norway, Britain, Italy, France, Hungary, Spain, and so on, we have a very limited number of antimicrobials. This is, let me say, good from an antimicrobial resistance point of view, but it's not good for the fish farmers because they have some problem to fight some outbreaks of bacterial pathogens. The same is more or less for antiparasitic to treat the different parasite. And also keep in mind that the situation is complicated also by many problems, main problems to perform antimicrobial therapy during an outbreak. It's not easy to understand when and where the disease has started. We are working with thousands of animals in a single tank, so it's not easy just to understand, above all if you are in the middle of the sea, offshore. Only therapy with medicated feed is allowed. Obviously, you can't use bath treatment, but only medicated feed. But again, a problem because sick animals don't eat, and it's impossible to perform individual therapy like for a cat, dog, or beef, by injection or a specific therapy. So in aquaculture, only metaphylatic therapy is allowed, so you can treat the animal to avoid the spread of infectious diseases to healthy fish, only with medicated feed, but prophylactic treatment, keep in mind, is forbidden. It's forbidden just to avoid antimicrobial resistance. So you can't use therapy or antimicrobial just to avoid the onset of the disease. Okay, you can use therapy, antimicrobials, only to avoid the spread. So at the beginning of the disease, if you see some sick animal, okay, and you are afraid that disease is coming in your tank, in your farm, you can stop. But please keep in mind that you can't, it's quite forbidden to perform a prophylactic treatment, just to avoid the beginning of the disease. This is very important for antimicrobial resistance. In marine hatchery, you also, maybe you need to use the antibiotic and to absorb the antibiotic to Artemia or Rotiferus, because many marine larvae, or juvenile, eat only living feed. So they need this very small crustacean at the beginning of their life. So in conclusion, just to be brief, the best solution are biosafety, obviously, but from a therapy, let me say, point of view, the best solution to avoid antimicrobial resistance is vaccination. And this is a very nice picture from the Norwegian authorities. You can see the power of vaccines. So Norwegian antibiotics used on the left, the bar, you can see the blue bar, sorry. The use of antibiotics decreased dramatically in less than 10 years when they started with the vaccination. You can see very high production, more than 1.5 million of tons, so the biggest producer in Europe, in the Western countries, are Norway. And you can see the disease, the use of antibiotics, but when they started with vaccination against Vibrios, against Aeromonas aerugicida, and again the oil-based or multivalent vaccine, the use of antimicrobials dramatically decreased. More than 98% of the antibiotics less than before the use of vaccine. You can see many tons of antibiotics used in salmon production in the past. So this is the most important message to take home. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manfrin. Thank you for your presentation. So I see no questions in the chat box. Okay, no, it's
Thank
just...
you, Francesco. I can address one question. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Amedeo, for such an interesting topic, introducing AMR, antimicrobial resistance, to fish farming sector. Because you, of course, have spoken about bacterial disease, is it a problem of fish farming in closed farm? And not observed in offshore fish farming, or it's visible also in both the kind of management for fish growing?
Yes, thank you, Guido, for your question. Bacterial diseases are spread everywhere. So in the hatchery, not only marine species, but also freshwater, obviously, different species. You know that in the Western country, in our region, we farm more than 40 different species, marine, brackish water, freshwater species, and so on. So you can experience outbreaks of bacterial diseases in the hatchery, in the on-growing period, and also inland, and then in offshore keep in mind that 90% of the production for salmon, for example, are in the fjords, offshore. And I told you that also the aquaculture marine species production in the Mediterranean are moving to offshore production. So they start maybe mainly in inland, in hatchery. I show you some old example of intensive fish farming very close to the sea, but in tanks inland. But now 90% of the fish farmer moved to offshore or inshore, so very close to the coast, but on the sea, like in Greece, for example, they have a lot. So the problem is in both.
Thank you. I ask you two more comments.
You're welcome.
One about the role of biosafety, of biosecurity. What Dr. Azazza mentioned about the quality of water, and maybe monitoring quality of water could be good to prevent, to avoid microbial spreading. The first one, and the second, so the importance of biosafety in fish farming, and the second, if like for some other line of livestock production, of course terrestrial, if there is any availability of alternative therapies, like from vegetable or other maybe promising, not impacting possibility. Thank you.
Yes, very quickly. Anna Tofan will speak about biosafety, so she's welcome. And for the second question, yes, there are many people, many researchers working all over the world, also in Africa, also in Northern Africa, Southeast Asia, and so on, to test different kind of molecules. So phytotherapy is quite important. There are also people testing antimicrobial peptides coming from marine animals or protein of different origin and so on. So there are many people, also homeopathic treatment. Yes, I also laughing, but they told that they obtained some good results. I see that there are also some questions.
Yes.
Maybe we can answer later or now.
No, we can answer them directly. So we have two questions. Yes.
About the bottleneck for research. Yes. Experimental vaccine, experimental facility can be a problem. Our institute is equipped with a very good performing wet facilities. We can manage different species, freshwater, brackish water, different temperature, and so on. There are also some facilities all over Europe, obviously. This is a problem, but I think that the different interest, not among producers, but above all among the pharmaceutical company, because at least in Europe, the cost for market authorization is very high, at least $1.5 million dollars or euros. So you can understand that if you produce species like salmon, so thousand million of tons, it's interesting for the pharmaceutical company. If you produce, let me say, catfish in Italy, for example, or eel is not. And again, maybe Anna can talk also about viral vaccine are quite difficult to test, to perform, and to produce. So this is another bottleneck. So we can go to the quick overview of the original content not performed by me. No, I think it's good enough for the moment, but you are welcome during the question and answer session. Thank you.
Yeah, there is another question. So
sorry. Sorry,
okay.
I saw now. Sorry, Francesco. Yes, yes. I spoke about the Cibarculum maritimum, which is the most important species, but this is not the only one. There is also the Centrarchi, obviously, the Scholar, Ovolyticum, and so on. Sorry. It depends also on the fish species, because the virulence of the pathogen can change dramatically from one fish to another. Just an example, the Centrarchi is specific for sea bass, sole, because it's more virulent in flatfish. But there are many other species. And this is, I conclude, another bottleneck for the production of vaccine, because you need to be sure that your pathogen, virus, bacteria, or at least parasite, is pathogen, first of all, very important for your species. But if the pathogen is only linked to one species, this is not interesting for again, for the pharmaceutical company, because the cost benefit is negative. Thank you.
Okay, we have one last question. So it's regarding vaccination. I read it. So wouldn't the vaccination will have a bad effect on the fish from a stress point of view? It's from Anonymous, so I don't know who.
Okay, no problem. I can answer also to Anonymous people. They are welcome. Okay, yes, fish, all the activity during aquaculture production can be a stress for the animal, obviously. I'm also an expert of fish welfare. So you need to be to have trained personnel, trained staff, and so on. Grading is a very stressful operation. For example, when you need to change the tanks to move the animals from one tank to another. And vaccination could be stressful for the animal. You need to manage all the activity, and bath or immersion treatment obviously are less stressful than fish injection, intraperitoneum injection, because you need to harvest the fish, anesthetize the fish, inject by a syringe, so put a needle into the fish, so it's quite stressful. The best one, just to conclude, could be oral vaccination, but the results from oral vaccination are not so good like injection, because we are speaking about, yes, vertebrate, but they are not cat, fish, or human. So the immunological properties and the response is quite low. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we do not have any more questions. Now we can have a 15 minutes break, so we can meet again at 11:50 sharp, and we can start again with the other presentations. So should Dr. Massoud be able to connect, we will give him the floor. Otherwise, we will move to Dr. Tofan presentation. Okay, so thank you very much to all our speakers, and I'm sorry again, dear participants, for the logistical issues. We will try to fix them all, and we will be back in 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
Recording stopped.
Dr. Masoud?
Hello, I am with you. I am Dr.
Yeah.
Masoud.
Yeah, do you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can resume your presentation after the coffee break. Now we are in coffee break for 15 minutes. And
Okay.
we resume the event at
Thank you.
11:50.
Thank you.
At
I
11:50.
apologize for this interruption. I apologize. This is from
No.
internet.
Feel free. No problem, my dear. No problem. We consider, and our boss, Dr. Guido Luria, he speaks that in some countries they may have some interruption with some problem with internet communication. So
Thank
you can open the camera, Dr. Luria. No, you speak to him.
Yeah. What we believe, Mohammed, is to keep the network, to work together, to cooperate. Doesn't matter some little problem. This is not important, So feel free to continue later, okay, after the coffee break.
After the coffee break, and we hope
I'm
with this
online.
the communication will keep going.
Okay. Thank you, Miss. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you.
Officer,
So
I apologize. I'm sorry.
I go for quick coffee and I come back, okay? Thank you.
Okay, coffee. You have a coffee. We are fasting today. We are in Ramadan.
in the second session.
Francesco, sono Guido e volevo dirti che il collega dell'Egitto vuole appunto provare a partecipare. Hello, Nadia. Just to tell you that the colleague from Egypt,
Yeah.
Dr.
Recording in progress.
Masoud, would like to show his talk, to show his presentation. Okay, so we try again if
Yes.
connection is better. Thank you.
Thank you. Should we start now our second session? Or
Yes.
we're still waiting.
Yes, please go ahead.
We can start. Thank you.
So, okay, so welcome again and to our webinar now. For today's webinar, actually, is Aquaculture Modern System, Obstacles, Challenges, and Improper Management. So I'm happy to be with the discussion today, and I'm sure that we will delve with more rich insights with our two next speakers on the panel today, and we'll try again with Dr. Masoud. Please, I welcome you, Dr. Masoud, and the floor is yours to present us your presentation today dealing with aquaculture challenges, administration, legislation, production, trade, and marketing. Dr. Masoud, the floor is yours. Dr. Masoud, do you hear me? Dr. Mohammed, your phone is muted.
This guy is a disaster. Huh?
Dr. Mohammed? I think he's not hearing us. I think the connection quality is not very good for Dr. Mohammed. I don't see him moving. What do you think, Guido? Yeah, okay. So he listens. Please, Dr. Mohammed, unmute your phone so that we can try to verify if we can hear you properly.
Maybe he can switch off the camera and the connection will gain some.
Yes, a good suggestion. Yes, indeed. Dr. Mohammed, please turn off your camera and switch on the phone. We cannot hear you. No, we lost Dr. Mohammed. I don't see him in the participant list anymore. Okay. So I think that if this is okay with you, we can switch with the order. Then we can start with the presentation of Dr. Anna Tofan, which I welcome her very warmly. She's a very good friend of mine, and also she is a very esteemed expert, and she's gonna today talk about biosecurity in biosecurity management in aquaculture. So biosecurity is of paramount importance for several reasons, and we will discover this with Dr. Anna. So without any delay, I think, Anna, the floor is yours now.
Okay, thank you. I will share my screen now. I hope you can see my presentation.
Yes, if you can.
Okay,
yes,
in the presentation mode. So good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to give this talk. I focused my talk on biosecurity management in the Mediterranean aquaculture. So let's start from the definition of biosecurity, what we intend with this term. And with biosecurity, we include all the action we perform in order to the risk of introduction of a disease in our farm, but also all the action we do in order to prevent the spread of this infection from our production site to the neighboring farm or even to the wild. This is under the common umbrella that prevention is better than cure, and all the effort we do in preventing is even less than the problem we will have if we gain a problem, especially from an infectious disease. So before entering to the how we can apply biosecurity, I wanted to critically analyze the sector, in particular the Mediterranean, so the marine farm that, as we listened before, is based on two main species, so the European sea bass and the Gilbert sea bream. We have the Mediterranean, several other species emerging, like Migor, amberjack, or sole, but still these species are less common. And generally speaking, they are farmed together with European sea bass and Gilbert sea bream. So we can refer to these species and generalize my talk. In common between all these species, there is a different commercial size for the commercialization of this fish, ranging from the portion size 200 to 150 grams to the large fish above 1 kilo. This means that we have to enter several times in a farm to collect, to harvest the fish during a production size. And this action is performed even from the same cage or from the same pond, and this is a critical point from a biosecurity point of view. In order, we have even if we are talking about mainly two species, so sea bass and sea bream, we have different characteristics of the farm site depending on the region. As Dr. Manfrin showed before, we range from very extensive system in the lagoon, so in a completely open environment, to completely or semi-closed environment, because they, for example, this farm is inland, so it is based on tanks, but it's very close to the sea. We can have mainly for the broodstock and the hatchery a completely closed farm, but now also RAS, as some talk before enlightened, RAS recirculation system is taking place more and more due to the to save water resources. And finally, the most common system to grow fish, the final stage at least, is on the sea cages that can be small and close to the coastal line, but can be even bigger and far from the coast, so completely offshore. This make, how to say, very difficult to apply a common biosecurity system to all these different kind of aquaculture. In addition to this, we have that the Mediterranean species possess a complex life cycle with, for example, larval stage eating live fish. That is a peculiarity of the marine species. We have very long time before the broodstock mature and gain the capacity to spawn. So it is generally speaking a very complex and quite long, especially in the northern part of the Mediterranean, where we have still, I don't know for how long, because global warming is changing a little bit the seasonality, but still we have winter. So during winter time, sea bream and sea bass stop growing. So especially in the northern part of the Mediterranean, we have a longer life cycle compared to the south part of the Mediterranean. We have live transport of juveniles because, as I show you in the next slide, there are an uneven distribution of the hatcheries. So we have these fish, juveniles, moving from a part to the other of the Mediterranean, generally from the north to the south and from the east to the west. So this is an important point to focus when we talk about biosecurity. Another issue is that in the past, now things are changing, but still we have several pre-growing units at the sea. Pre-growing means the phase where the fish are juvenile, so too big for staying in a hatchery, but not so big to be considered grown up. And this is from a health point of view, a very susceptible stage for all diseases, and having this pre-growing unit in open environment make this an important, a critical point from a biosecurity point of view. And something that also we miss is the processing plant, since generally speaking, the fish are collected, harvested from the cages and sell directly to the market, frozen, and we miss, so no filleted, no processed anymore, seems frozen and sell to the market. So the lack of processing plant means that we miss an important control point at the end of the production cycle. So this is an example of how the Mediterranean is interconnected, especially for the juvenile, since we have the majority of the hatcheries located in the northern countries, in the European countries, Italy, France, Spain, Croatia, but Turkey, also Greece. There is this movement of juvenile by boat generally that connect actually the Mediterranean, and this is an important point, because if a disease enter into an hatchery potentially, and actually in the past happened at least a couple of times, this disease can be spread rapidly to the whole Mediterranean Sea. This is a schematic view of how the building of a farm are composed, and the main risk factor entering in each of these buildings. Generally, we have in the same building the broodstock selection and multiplicator. Then we have the incubation and the larva rearing and the nursery. This is per se a critical point from a biosecurity point of view, because having the same building, we have to keep separated the sector, and it's not always easy. For example, in the salmon industry, the broodstock selection and multiplicator is apart from the eggs, the incubation and the larva rearing. I think we have to improve from this point of view, because broodstock can bring several diseases and transmit vertically to the progeny, to the larva, the diseases. And so we have to work really at a high level on biosecurity in the broodstock facility. And still in the Mediterranean, we have the habit to collect broodstock from the wild, and this is really risky from a disease point of view and biosecurity point of view. But even if we don't introduce from the wild, mainly for room reason and for economic reason, we still farm the future broodstock in an open environment. So, for example, in sea cages, and then we put again inside the farm. This is really a procedure very, very risky from a biosecurity point of view. Then we have the pre-fattening, as I told you before. This can be joined to the same building together with the broodstock incubation and weaning, or can be separated. Now, pre-fattening specialized farms are growing, are coming, because this is really important, because it's the most important building where we can perform vaccination, both by immersion before, or even in the pre-fattening, or by injection. Then when we move the fish to the cages or to the open environment, it's really difficult to boost or to vaccinate again. And these are the main risks according to the different stage. So water source is a common risk factor for all the chain. Here in this building, we can control. We have feed, we have restocking fish, and the personnel. In the other stages, additional to this, we have also the transport by truck or boat, and then the wild fish and the predators that can also pose risk to our fish. in comparison with the other aquaculture production, and how to say, the way of compare is always the salmon industry that has been really, really well developed in and is actually the most important aquaculture industry in the world. We have still a critical point, a certain number of critical points. For example, in the salmon, as I told you before, restocking for the wild is extremely rare, is forbidden. In salmon, they breed only one species, while in the Mediterranean, we generally have more than a single species on one side, and often we have also different life cycle on the same site. This poses some critical issue for the biosecurity. In the Mediterranean, and Dr. Manfrin told before me, we have a lack of availability of vaccine. Very few vaccines are available, no for viruses, but also for bacterial disease, and also the drugs, the viability of drugs. At least for the European countries, we have a lack of availability of drugs to treat our fish. Other procedures commonly applied in salmon industry are also the above farm level. So, for example, zoning, the application on following period on single farm, but even on by zone, and the procedure to have all in, all out that is rarely applied in Mediterranean aquaculture. Other hurdles are that Mediterranean is surrounded by different countries, so the legislation can be different. It is different between the European countries, even if we work in the same legislative framework that is called Animal Health Law, AHL, we apply not exactly in the same way. So you can imagine how different legislative aspects can be faced between, for example, North African and European countries. Also, aquaculture depends from different authorities. For example, here in Italy, aquaculture belongs to the veterinary medicine, which then belongs to the Ministry of Health. But I think it is a unique country with this feature. Generally speaking, aquaculture belongs to Maritime Affairs or the Ministry of Agriculture. So they, how to say, it's difficult from time to time put together all these authorities to find a common way to manage the aquaculture in general, also from a health point of view. And also another problems that we face quite frequently is the uneven distribution of infrastructure. For example, fish dedicated laboratories are present, but not everywhere in the same at the same number, and they are not accessible at the same level. So this can be an issue when we have a sanitary problem. But also, for example, a feed producer, hatcheries, as I told you before, are located in an uneven way throughout the countries facing the Mediterranean Sea. So that's why also we lack regional planning for biosecurity, or it's very difficult to standardize zoning and so on. So after this long introduction about the critical point we face when we talk about biosecurity in the Mediterranean aquaculture, let's go to look how we can apply biosecurity in a fish farm. And the three pillars we have always to take account are isolation, that means close off and control of any external exposure, traffic control, meaning control of animal, but not only, also personnel, water, we will see later on, and sanitation. So implement a systematic cleaning and disinfection plan is of paramount importance. So starting from the equipment, it is really important to have update equipment, also because leakage in biosecurity generally happen or frequently happen together or immediately after an equipment failure. So it's important to have, for example, backup system for the critical equipment. We have to maintain cleaning and availability of this equipment and functionality. So this is really important. And then we have to identify external and internal barrier. This means physical barrier, for example, can be different building, or can be disinfection, hygienic point, where people have to stop to change, for example, the clothes, to disinfect the boots and the hands. So this is a hygienic barrier, but it is really important to identify correctly and to maintain functionality of this barrier. When we talk about movement, that are the most important risk factor for introducing and spreading the disease, we have to consider the movement of water, because I saw in several farms, the water generally flow through different sector of the same, different building or sector of the same farm. So we have to also consider disinfection point for the water. The origin, of course, of the water is of paramount important, and also the outlet to avoid the spreading also of the disease. The movement of fish is really important to consider, because generally speaking, the disease arrives and goes together with the fish. So we have to always to think about having a quarantine sector. That means a separate tank, separated physically or even hygienically from the rest of the farm, where the fish, new batches entering to the farm can rest after the stress of the transport, and can be controlled from a sanitary point of view. We have also to keep in mind that drugs, if it doesn't belong to the farm, needs to be disinfected. This is critical. Not only the drugs, also the boats. And you think about how can it be difficult to disinfect a boat, but this is something really, really important to check and to ask, for example, if you use third parties transport. And finally, always ask for health certificates, because this means that you assure that the fish come from a farm that apply biosecurity system in its own. So biosecurity is made of pieces. If all we do our part, it is better for everyone. The personnel, we have to keep track and control for movement of personnel between different farms, but also inside the same farm between different sectors. And in our next slide, I will stress and underline how important it is to train the personnel, because biosecurity is made mainly by people, so the people from the technician and their daily work. And finally, the feed. Remember, as I told you before, that we deal with different kinds of feed, so the standard pellet, but also we have live feed, Artemia or rotifer, and we have to check also this kind of feed for origin, certificate, presence of pathogen. And also we still use in several farms frozen fish, so this is also important to check the origin and the certificates of this kind of feed that can introduce disease in our farm. Then we have to think about the pathogens. So we have to identify the pathogen or the biological risk that treat our farm. That can be endemic disease, so disease that we know are present in our farm and we have to anyway control. There can be new pathogens that are endemic in the area where we are, but not in our farm. So we have always to think about that an incursion of this pathogen can happen. And then we are also to always think about the unknown pathogen. So it's really important to investigate anomalous mortality, unexpected mortality, even if we think that is related to a failure, is an important point to check if everything is okay, even from a sanitary point of view. So what we can do for pathogen management, this is really general, is not related to the single pathogen. We have to keep record of mortality separately per sector. We have to keep record of treatment and vaccination, if available, and it's always suggest to apply the vaccination, and we have to keep record of this, and also maybe a follow-up, so if we think that this vaccination is working or not. Then we have to plan periodic analysis through laboratory, thanks to a laboratory analysis, and this should be done in a systematic way. It's not really useful if we send sample only when you have a problem. It is better to plan during the year, during the season of production, identify the most risk period, and then systematically send sample to the laboratory. Because in this way, we can identify if something is changing. If we send only the sample, then the problem is really difficult for a laboratory to also interpret the results, not for laboratory, but even for you. And something that I always stress, it is important that we periodically look at all this data we collect, because something I feel is that we collect amount of the farm, generally speaking, possess really a huge amount of data, but we have also to interpret this data, to look at them periodically, to look for trends or changing in behavior of, for example, the trend of production, of growing, of mortality, and this need to be done by the biologist or better the veterinarian from the farm. Cleaning and disinfection. You know better than me that cleaning and disinfection, general hygiene is of paramount importance. Of course, cleaning is more important than disinfection, because means an initial sanitation phase that removes 90% of the microorganisms present in the structure. And without sanitation, we can disinfect, but the disinfection lose half of its efficacy. So it's better to perform a right cleaning and from time to time disinfection than disinfect every time without cleaning. The protocol, of course, must be designed according to each farm, to each needing, the structure, the material, for example, of the tank, also the availability of the products, the cost of the product. So the protocol needs to be designed farm case by case. It is plenty of physical or chemical methods available, so we have just to decide which one fits better for each farm. And something that is really important is also we have to think about emergency procedure for cleaning and disinfection during peacetime. So we have always to keep some stock of disinfectant and some procedure ready to use in case of a biosecurity break. And finally, as I told you before, the personnel. Training the personnel is paramount important. It's one of the most difficult, because you have to repeat periodically the same things, but it's really, really important because the real biosecurity is made by the operator during the routine activities. And so we have to teach the personnel about their role, about where they can go, where they can't go, what they have to do in case of a failure, for example, or in case of suspect. We have to periodically renew all this info. And it's also true also for visitors and also technical staff that enter into the farm periodically. So just to conclude my presentation, that as you saw is really generic. We have no, I'm really sorry, but there is no one fit for all procedure, but each biosecurity plan need to be tailor-made farm by farm. And it is really important to have this in written, because written force the people to think about what they are written, which are the critical points, and also to revise periodically, at least once per year, this plan, because it is really important to learn from past experience and to update also according to the changing that happen on the market, for example, the viability of the product, the chemical, or whatever. So this is, for example, a workflow of how we can think about a biosecurity plan. If you are interested in deepening this topic, there is also this very nice summary written by colleagues in this project called Med8, and I invite you to read this. Is freely available online at this link show we have here. It's a short one, but it's really, really useful to enter into this very complex topic. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much for your presentation. A very interesting presentation, which offers actually practical insights, best practices, strategic recommendations for aquaculture communities in their quest for sustainability or resilience of their activity, actually. So the as you saw, the aquaculture has, and it's not an exception for the globalization and the transformation in its like in the system. So we saw that automation, artificial intelligence, but this also we need to pay attention also on the strategic management and insist on these biosecurity measures application, not only
exactly. I would also underline that artificial intelligence is really something entering our daily life. It is really important, but actually we are saying to artificial intelligence, we have to teach to artificial intelligence. So we have first to have clear the idea in our mind, and then we can train artificial intelligence to help in our daily work.
Exactly. The application, the field experience is more important sometimes. And yeah, thank you so much. And I think that we will have some questions later on.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I'm sorry also to announce that Dr. Jawhara Shabani, she got an unexpected impediment, and she's not joining us, unfortunately. So I think that we can directly receive some questions. I don't know if there are some questions in the chat box.
Not now.
Like the certificate? No, I don't think that. I don't read any question related to this last presentation. We can wait a little bit, or I can ask also a question. Yes, we have one, so I can read it. Why such a lack of epidemiological tool? So I don't know if I have well understood. Maybe let's stick to the marine aquaculture. And Anna, this question is for you, if you can give more information.
I can talk for Italy. We are trying to work on some zoning, for example, in small Gulf. But yes, one of the problems is that marine aquaculture is quite fragmented. So we have several different companies, and not always they are really willing to work together. They are really, how to say, worried about sharing knowledge between each other. But we have to overpass this old way of thinking, because biosecurity is, how to say, improvement for all the farm involvement. So I don't know, but it's, yeah, as I told you, Mediterranean is very big. We have different farm distribution, and also building of the farm is, the structure of the farm is different. So I think it's something a little bit difficult to think about zoning, but why not? Why not?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so I think that Dr. Mohammed Masood is with us now, but I'm not sure about the his capability to hear us, or we can hear him.
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, that's great. So please, Dr. Masood, go ahead with your presentation, and we are sorry for this interruption, actually. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Earth's surface is covered by 70% of salt water. Only about 3% is fresh water. As vertebrate fish dominate the world's water bodies through a variety of morphological, physiological, and behavioral adaptation. Fish live water for more than 450 million years. So for a total of 24,618 species of fish have been described. belonging to 482 families and 4,258 genera. About 58% of marine fish species, 41% of freshwater inhabitants, and 1% of migrants. The challenge affecting aquaculture. Disease infecting aquaculture, increased competition on protein for human consumption, climatic change around the world, animal and human and chemical waste products, developing more effective regulation and legislation. Fish production in Egypt. The production of fish in Egypt in 2020 are 2 million tons. Natural fisheries for 400,000 tons. 400,000. 20%. Fish farming produce 1.6 million tons. 80% of 62 billion pounds. Imported fish to Egypt is 400,000 tons. Exported fish is 30,000 tons. Per capita location production, local production is 20 kilogram per year, but the global per capita is 20.5 kilogram per year. This is the rapid aquaculture system, closed system found in Egypt. And there is submerged cages and floating cages. There is fish farming in rice fields. Aquatic animal production challenge. Climatic change around the world. Aquatic animal hygiene and handling through markets. Challenge in aquatic animal exportation. Decrease of aquatic animal seeds and fingerling. Illegal and unregulated fishing of marine aquatic animals. Quality of aquatic animals products for human consumption. Potential future challenge. Water sources, resources, and population increase. Affecting exportation of fish to world market in Egypt. It's affected by regulation and legislation for each country for fish importation, and permissible limit variation for each heavy metals residue for each country. Increase of shipping prices for export goods to different world countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed. Thank you so much. And also, just to inform that I'm pretty sure that the Store Meza will share these presentations so that people can read it correctly and without these connection problems, which is out of control sometimes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Patience.
Yeah, thank you. I think that I missed a question in the question and answer box. Is from Professor Laurent Bigaret. And he says that, is there a need for developing more and harmonized diagnostic methods among all the Mediterranean countries? Thank you so much, Dr. Laurent, for this question coming from the laboratory. I think this question is for Anna Tufan.
Yes, I think this question is for me.
Reference lab. Yeah, please go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, I think, as I told before, there is an issue because we have an uneven distribution of the laboratory, and among the laboratory, we are, I think, working hard to harmonize the method of diagnostics. We have still to improve, but in the past years, several improvements have already been made. There were several projects pointing out this, that we have to harmonize the diagnostic methods, and we are actually working on it. For example, with the proficiency test organization for the betanovirus, and what I suggest still is to improve also the number of laboratory, because also the shipment of the sample from offshore to another countries can be really difficult. It's paramount important that at least one laboratory, but hopefully more than one per country, is available, specialized on fish diseases that are quite different from the mammalian and the terrestrial animals.
Thank you, Anna. I think Dr. Manfred wants to ask a question.
Yes.
Can you write it in the chat, or I don't know if the store can...
Only a clarification,
Okay.
Nadia. Thanks, Anna. She's right.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
She's right, but also keep in mind that we have the WOA diagnostic manual. Not only the diseases are included, for example, bacterial diseases important for marine species, but we are developing also with you, the WOA project, Aqua Strength, and one of the output is a practical manual to perform a diagnosis in your lab, and also some interesting project like MedAid. MedAid was very, very nice project. You have free a very good diagnostic manual with all the steps. So clinical symptoms, how to collect the sample, how to perform practical, but also high-level diagnosis, so PCR, real-time, and so on. So all of us are working to have the same standard, let me say, procedure. Thank you.
Exactly, Dr. Amadeo, and thank you for this information. Yes, indeed, with the MedAid, there is a manual for the diagnostic method, and this is not only for notifiable diseases, but for the diseases having economic impact for the region. So it's a very complementary document. And also this aspect is... it became a priority, I think, now, and you will see that a lot of regional work has been initiated, and with Francisco, you will see that aspect is taken in consideration, at least in the recent work done in Africa through the networking we are putting in place. But before that, I have one question. If there is no other comment, if I still have a few minutes, I wanted to ask a question about the biosecurity presentation of Dr. Anna, and I have two questions, actually. The first one is about the life cycle separation stage scheme that you showed. It's a very clever, actually, solution to have the on-growing stage in the land phase, not directly in the cages where the control and the application of biosecurity and vaccination is easier, of course. So I wanted to know if there there have been any application from any country in the Mediterranean region till now? Because I know that this has been presented since 2021 or even before. So is there any practical example to see?
I think that France is pretty advanced on this topic. They are starting to selling older juveniles already vaccinated, and the pre-growing is done inland. Some hatchery are developing this strategy.
And so they are selling juveniles at 10 grams or more?
Yes, even more. Even more, according to the request of the customer, of course.
Okay, and it's and the price was very high.
I don't know.
Significantly higher.
Don't ask me.
You don't know.
It's not my
because this is the challenge actually to accept this. Yeah,
of course.
So
we are going to find a balance between what is feasible and what is
Exactly.
affordable. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And my second question is about the zoning. Actually, this is a very important, concept. And you said that within the sea bass and sea bream industry, we don't have zoning. So I understand this is a general concept, at least within the Mediterranean, with the lack of quarantine also facilities. I'm wondering where I want to know your point of view. Where is the difficulty? Is it to have like if we make some zones within the country, then it's related to the disease status that all the private sector, the private farms within one zone will have a unique disease status, and this is not good for maybe the willingness of the private sector to integrate this concept, or is it about shared water body or other reason actually?
Actually, I'm not really sure. I know in Italy we are start working with some zoning in very specific area where we have different farm sharing the same environment. Actually, for example, just applying the same biosecurity measure, simply vaccinating all at the same time or all farm in the same area performing vaccination. This is an important biosecurity measure. And so it's not only related to gain a certain health status, but for example, applying certain biosecurity measure all together, all in the same way. This is a really something difficult to reach, but give immediate output. So I think we have to work step by step. So starting first to put all the different stakeholder fish producer at the same table and start to work all together from the very basic point of view. For example, vaccinating at the same time, planning the seeding of the new fish in a certain period compared to another, and this has been should be made area by area. So it's according to the differences we have, it's very difficult to reach big zoning like we see, for example, in a single fjord in Norway or in an area of Norway. But starting from the bottom, we can reach in the future.
Thank you, Anna, for this data actually. So if I see another question. Or comment from Dr. Laurent. So he says that there are new PCR-based technologies, cheap and efficient, that would boost the capacity of several countries to develop national and even local diagnostic capacities. Funding is needed. FAO should have a look to this possibility. Yeah, indeed, Dr. Laurent, I agree. And the support of international organization in these aspects is a fundamental point, I think.
If I may add, diagnostic and also vaccine production. Dr. Manfrin told before, we have a lack of viability of vaccine, and every day we receive requests of new vaccine, but the pharmaceutical company are not really willing to invest in this sector because they look at it as a minor part of compared to terrestrial, but actually it's not true.
Yeah, we need to prove this, I think, again and again. Okay, thank you so much, Anna. Thank you so much, Dr. Laurent. If there's no more questions about the presentations of our expert panels, then I think that we can seize the opportunity if we have some time, and Francisco can make for us a short overview of very new work done in the African continent about the launching of regional networks. So Francisco, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nadia. So this presentation was quite unexpected, but let me try to give you a quick overview of what we've done. So I will present you quickly the Regional Aquatic Animal Health Network for North Africa, and I will tell you about also some other activities related to aquatic animal health in the Africa region. So, quick background. So, as you know, the surveillance and control of aquatic animal diseases is one of the major weak links that affect the sustainable expansion of aquaculture production and trade in Africa. So, of course, there is a need for epidemic surveillance to prevent the control and introduction of aquatic animal diseases. There is an increased transboundary trade. There is an aquaculture expansion as presented also today. And of course, there are lots of environmental and public health challenges. And that's why all these aspects have to be addressed to ensure the productivity, safety, competitiveness, and biodiversity of the Africa's aquatic animal resources. There are some key sectoral strategies for the Africa region. For example, the Africa Blue Economy and the Animal Health Strategy for Africa, Animal Welfare Strategy, some policy frameworks, etc. So, given all these aspects, it's very important that all stakeholders play a role in the control of aquatic animal diseases. So that's why UABAR in their report shows that there is no functional systems. There was at least no functional system linking and coordinating all the stakeholders, both at national and regional level, and that of course was leading to a precarious situation in the event of outbreaks. So that's why UABAR started collaborating with WOA to develop regional technical networks, because they can play a major role in the management of animal diseases. Of course, putting together both the veterinary services, the private sector, and developing a forum that includes all the stakeholders and can address health issues, diagnostic issues, so capacity building, and also trade aspects for the aquatic animals. So the objectives of the event of the network that we launched, of course, was to establish and operationalizing this regional network. As I will explain later, WOA and the UABAR collaborated on the development of 3 different networks: the North African networks, Southern African network, and a regional network for all Africa, specifically focusing on laboratories. So now I will give you an overview of the North African network. 2 main objectives: to strengthen the implementation of SPS measures for biosecurity, market access, and safe trade, and to create a platform, as I said, where all the stakeholders can share information and collaborate and work together. Of course, it is anticipated that the implementation of this network will result in improved technical capacity and management of aquatic animal health in the region, greater understanding of the application of standards required to reach and maintain the health status compatible with interregional and international trade, improved collaboration, sharing information, closer working relationship, and harmonized regional control policies for aquatic animal diseases. I will go through these slides quickly. So the specific objectives, we structured our agenda in 4 main parts. We performed a situation analysis. We worked on the term of reference, institutional framework, and action plan for the network. And of course, the expected outcomes are accordingly to were developed accordingly to the objectives. So we met in April last year in Tunis for the North African network. We had all 6 North African countries represented, so going from Mauritania, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and Egypt. You can scan the QR code to go to the WOA website, where you can find more information about this event and have access to all the presentations that were given during the event. We had a 3 days event structured this way, but I will move on quickly. The outcomes. So the situation analysis, at first we worked on challenges, opportunities, and networking to discuss possible solutions, to discuss together how to better address the main opportunities and how to improve the existing networks and implement new networks for sharing expertise and collaborating. We also performed a SWOT analysis. We worked mainly on 6 topics, so implementation of WOA standards and disease reporting. Regarding to that aspect, I remind you all that now we have the WOA Observatory that periodically publish a report, and it's now available. The report, I think the last one is from 2022, but it's an interesting overview of the application of the standards, disease reporting, etc. And as you can see in the report, I can copy the link later in the chat box. There is a lack of notification of aquatic animal diseases, so of course awareness campaigns and sensitization of our veterinary services, it's of utmost importance for the aquatic animal health. We worked also, we discussed about also laboratory capacity and diagnostic, public-private partnership, surveillance for emerging diseases, information sharing, biosecurity. We published a meeting report that, if I'm not mistaken, is also available on the website. So please go there and read it. We worked on the term of reference. We do not have time right now to go through everything, but the main objectives of the network is to promote and support the sustainable aquatic animal production and equitable safe fish trade by increasing and sharing knowledge on aquatic animal disease prevention, diagnostic, surveillance, early detection, control, and other related aspects. So I won't discuss right now all the specific objectives, but please feel free to reach out, and I'm more than available to discuss about them with you all. Just a quick overview of the governance. We have 3 main actors the steering committee, where we have all the CVOs, so the chief veterinary officers of the 6 member states, WOA and the UEBAR as far as the co-secretariat, and all the other partner organizations, for example, FAO as well is involved, STOR is involved, and of course, the technical committee, the chair of the technical committee should attend also the steering committee meetings. Technical committee with the aquatic animal focal points of all the member countries. For example, Dr. Massoud represent Egypt, and relevant regional experts, I will talk about it later, and the secretariat, as I mentioned, is shared between WOA and the UEBAR. Okay, I will move on that part. The term of reference again are available both in English and French. Please feel free to reach out and I am happy to share them with you. We worked also on the institutional framework, but unfortunately, in spite of what was initially foreseen, we couldn't meet an agreement between all the parties attending the event. So we did not manage to develop an institutional framework during the meeting, but we agreed to work on that later. Action plan, we worked both on a Gantt for the establishment and operationalization of the network, and let me move on with that. And we also developed an action plan according to priority topics. So 7 priority topics were identified: disease surveillance, emergency preparedness and response, antimicrobial use and antimicrobial resistance, research and development, collaboration and knowledge sharing, biosecurity and laboratory capacities, and disease diagnosis. So for each of these priority topics, we identified subtopics, and for each subtopic, at least one activity, one practical activity to be put in place. For each activity, we've done a prioritization exercise. So we identified the priority high, medium, low. We defined a time frame to perform that specific activities and the source of funding. And again, we have the action plan available both in English and in French. So after that, we had a meeting of the technical committee, so the one with the aquatic animal focal points. I would like to stress just exactly this one, a key point. So as agreed in the term of reference, the members of the technical committee are the 6 aquatic animal focal points for the 6 member countries, and then we decided to include 3, but we're regional experts, so from the North African countries, to be included in the network. Of course, we at first we decided 3. Just it was a number agreed upon during the network, but there are ongoing discussions whether to open this committee to more than 3 national experts. We received as secretariat, we received the CVs of some experts, and we had to meet with the focal points to review the candidates' applications, proposals, and select the 3 experts, but unfortunately the focal point had several other commitments, and the meeting was scheduled, but we didn't have the majority of the participants to allow to proceed with this election. So I've been asked as secretariat to reopen the call. So I take advantage of this event to encourage all the regional experts for the 6 member countries to share with, to contact me, to share your CV, etc. if you're interested in taking part in this very interesting and important network, because we want to ensure that also the universities, different national institutions, and the private sector are represented in the network. So please contact me, share your CVs, and so that we can assess whether we can add you as an expert. And we do not have a deadline yet, but I would like to reach out again to the focal points and better define it, and I will make sure to use also this communication channel to share this kind of information. Of course, we stressed a lot the importance of the sensitization of the chief veterinary officers, because sometimes we do not have that many feedback. We know that they are very busy with a lot of other stuff, and as many of our experts today reminded, terrestrial animal health sometimes is the only animal health aspect that our veterinary services deal with, but we have to remind ourselves the importance of the aquatic animal health, and so we should all start to, the CVOs first should start to better assess the importance of this aspect of their activity, and so to focus on that as well. Okay, so yeah, we need some. I move on. Next steps. We have to select the regional experts, and then we have to start to work according to what was scheduled in the activity plan. And we know during the last meeting we had, maybe we all agreed that maybe we were a bit ambitious in the action plan that we initially drafted. So an idea is to focus on, to select two or three subtopics to focus on, to start with them, to get the network running, and then as soon as it will be properly working, we might go back to all the activities initially foreseen. But we should at least start with some priority activities. Some other activities, as I mentioned at the beginning, what we have done for North Africa was not, was not it's moving on its own. Anyway, so they've done the same for the Southern African countries. So you can find here a map with an overview of the countries involved for the Southern Africa network. And we had also, we launched a network for the laboratories for the All Africa region. And for that, Nadia attended the event as an expert. So Nadia, please feel free to report on this event, and then I will close presenting other two events that we have scheduled.
Thank you, Francisco, for the detailed update. And maybe it's easier with the laboratory network. So after the two networks that you talked about in April and in July, I think 2023, we have launched the Continental Laboratory Network for African region. Sorry, I don't have a presentation for this, but I can talk a little bit about the event. It was in South Africa. It was in December, I think, 2023. So after the two regional networks, the technical constraint, which is raising, I think, is the diagnostic capacity of the national laboratories. And laboratories with the regional outreach agenda also. So this was the justification to support the establishment of this third network, and specifically directed to uniting or harmonizing diagnosticians from the local member states, and also from reference laboratory and collaborative centers of WA. For the beginning, we started with, at the moment, we started with a limited number of countries and diagnostic facilities in Africa, with a view, of course, of scaling up its range at a later stage. So just to be very brief, during the workshop of launching, we had a very thorough discussions, and we agreed of the three main objectives of the network, actually. So again, in the same context, is the first objective is to promote and strengthen the establishment of collaborative partnerships and networking between the national, regional, and international aquatic animal health laboratories. Then the second one will be the improvement of capacity for and access to quality aquatic animal health laboratory services and information in Africa. And this is also include harmonization and standardization of diagnostic techniques, products, services, expertise, and regulation in compliance with national and the regional and international standards. Yeah, we talked about national, regional, and international standards. So the third one will be the establish of a continental aquatic animal health laboratory information system and capacity building, which are the training programs and necessary. So for the practical application of these three big objectives, we had short-term, we have classified, and with some sub-objectives, short-term and mid-term and long-term action plan. Yeah, and for the moment, we are at this stage. It was the last network in the same FishGov2 project. And we'll be very happy if we concrete the objectives that we planned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadia. So last slide. This is what I was trying to say earlier when I was chairing the sessions. I finally managed to say it. We are given that aquatic animal health is a priority for WA and it's a priority for the North African sub-region. We scheduled two events that will take place in Tunis, Tunisia in July. So we have first the training of aquatic animal focal points for the French-speaking countries, African countries. And we will add a back-to-back event. So a 2 days workshop on antimicrobial use and antimicrobial resistance, where we will address this in aquaculture, where we will address these issues, inviting at the same time both the aquatic animal focal points and the veterinary product focal point / AMR contact point, wherever you want to define them. So this will be a very interesting opportunity to discuss these very important topics with both the people in charge of the aquatic animal health and the veterinary products. And that's it. I'm sorry again for this presentation that was organized and delivered at the last minute, and I hope it was interesting. I'm available to reply to all your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Nadia. Thank you very much, Francesco. You covered properly this so interesting webinar, moving from production to health regulation. I think we have learned a lot. We have learned that there is a very well developed sector in Mediterranean area, but we have learned that not always we have the same level of biosafety or prevention tool, often lack of regulation or biosecurity plan, as Dottoressa Toffan mentioned. So just to thank our speakers, the Istituto Zooprofilattico Venezie, Dottoressa Ricci, General Director, and his collaborators, who gave their contribution today for this webinar, and the African expert, Dr. Massoud, Dr. Azaza, and Nadia, of course, to show us how much in the Mediterranean, in the south coast in the north coast of Mediterranean, we have this so important, sector. And before I close, also I would remember that we, as STORE, operative unit of Remesa, we like and we, are committed to facilitate, forum, webinar, and education plan training, and so according to this network, which are already, which are already moving and organizing to improve aquatic animal health in Mediterranean region. So I thank again the Tunisian Secretariat, the WOHA and FAO Tunisian Secretariat for this opportunity. I thanks again our chairman and all the speakers who could help to make this webinar. Thank you very much. And one more word, congratulating to the colleague for Ramadan period, which is now its fourth day. 4 days.
No, today is 8.
8 days of Ramadan.
Please, it's 8 days.
See you next time. See you next time. Goodbye.
See you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much. Bye.
Bye.